Ladies and gentlemen, after 5 rounds, we go to the judges' scorecards for decision. The judges score the contest 48-47, 48-47, and 49-46 for the winner by unanimous decision, and still the undisputed UFC lightweight champion of the world, Islam Makhachev!
Hello and welcome back to Hold On I'm Talking Brother. My name is Joe Greenwood and you are listening to our review of UFC 284 Makhachev versus Volkanovski for the lightweight title. UFC's first event in Australia for a number of years. And Tom Ballum, you are my regular co-host. How much did that crowd awaken you? The fact that we never should go back to the Apex.
I mean, that's for sure, Joe. It was absolutely incredible. The roof was on fire. Yeah. My God. Newfound respect for the nation of Australia. My views have been changed. Independence is granted. I mean, yeah. Joe, it was absolutely amazing. You asked me a question in the run-up to this event. When will we realise just how big this fight is? Because the UFC might not have promoted it. Will we have to wait for them to get in there? My answer to you at the time was, we know how big it is. For the fight fans out there, we know the size of the occasion. But yeah. Good Lord, did Volkanovski's walkout crystallise how big this fight was. Absolutely epic.
Absolutely. We'll go further into that walkout in a little bit, but let's go into the actual fight itself. Main event for the lightweight title, Islam Makhachev defends his title successfully against Volkanovski, wins by unanimous decision, 48-47 on 2 judges' scorecards, 49-46 on the third. And Tom, the simple question is, how did you score this fight?
Well, I usually, as a dedicated professional, honing my craft, will take meticulous notes when watching these big events. I couldn't do it, Joe. I had to glue 100% into the fight. It was just too good to ignore. So pen and paper went down pretty fast. I think we got about 1 minute in. So I was just kind of scoring blind on feeling.
Yeah.
And I scored the match on first viewing as follows.
Yeah.
48-47 for Islam Makhachev.
Okie doke. That's very interesting. First time I watched it, I scored it 48-47 for Alexander Volkanovski, is how I scored it. However, I scored it for him, and I'm like, he's definitely not won. He's not won this. The judges aren't going to give it to him. Like, that was my thinking. And it wasn't in the sense of this is a robbery. It was in the sense of this was so close and so good that, like, you can literally score it either way, 48-47, and not be disappointed, I don't think. I could squint a little bit and say 49-46 Makhachev. Absolutely no way I could give 4 rounds to Volkanovski.
Well, my eyebrows are raised, Joe. I think we better get into it round by round because I'm not seeing a 49-46.
So you watched it the second time and you scored it the second time?
Well, we'll get into that. Let's start off with the first round. Don't think there's going to be too much debate about that one.
There are certain rounds that I think are pretty set. Can I just put that out there? And I think it's rounds 1, 4, and 5 are the rounds where there's not really much debate about who won them.
We will be talking about one of those rounds in a bit more detail later on.
Okay, I know which one. Anyway, round 1, let's go through it.
Yeah, round 1. So they open up. A lot of feinting on both sides. Definitely a feeling out process. Any smart observer would recognise that was going to be the case.
Yeah.
Islam showing his patience, waiting for his opening. And then when they're trading, Volkanovski's blitzed in. They're kind of in the pocket and Makhachev drops him. That sets off a chain of events where...
He didn't drop Volkanovski, he rocked him slightly, didn't he?
He dropped to his knee, Joe. Now,
okay, fair enough.
Yeah, I saw it. Well, I don't think it was scored as a knockdown.
No.
I don't understand that. He dropped him. His knee hit the mat from a
in
strike.
boxing terms, you would say that's it, but we're not in boxing, so maybe they don't classify it as a drop.
No, perhaps not. But he doesn't need that to tie the round up anyway, because from that position, he's able to get into the clinch and set off a very interesting sequence of events, which we will see later on through the fight. So I was listening to Jack Slack, the oracle that he is, and he highlighted this. Once Makhachev has his arms locked and he's taken Volkanovski's back in the clinch position against the cage, Volk turns head into the cage, arse out to the center of the octagon, thus preventing Makhachev from rocking him backwards and forwards before eventually collapsing him under his own legs to get the takedown against the fence.
Interesting.
So what I'm saying is Volk is protected against that because his front is covered by the cage, leaving Makhachev with the only option to pull him backwards, pull him onto him, and then get on top get the back in the scramble after that.
Basically create a misdirection by pulling him in. But then also, I guess if Volkanovski's aware of him doing that, he can then just move to a certain way as he's being pulled in, meaning that Makhachev can only go one way.
Yeah, so Makhachev basically has to pull Volkanovski back onto him, and then he's risking a lot there in the scramble that follows.
Yeah.
Volkanovski's got that dominant position for a moment. He might be able to turn into Makhachev and thus reverse the position. So very smart game planning from the Volkanovski corner. Makhachev was able to keep control of the back, and the round ended as such with Makhachev in the dominant position. Am I right? This is a 10-9 for Islam Makhachev.
I agree. That's a 10-9 Makhachev. I think there was that interesting moment where it looked like Volkanovski had charged through Makhachev and sort of dropped him, but in reality it just sort of like almost like bundled him over. Like it was like, I'm going for a shot. I'm like, oh, it's not really landing. I'll just sort of push you over a little bit because Makhachev's retreating. That was the thing also, okay, we'll save it for the end, but basically I think both these guys highlighted that they're a lot stronger in their supposed weak areas than people presumed.
Yeah, I don't think you're giving a big spoiler there, Joe. That's something we definitely learned. Makhachev's stand-up deserves some respect.
Yes.
And Volkanovski can handle himself under pressure on the mat. So we move on to
round two.
Yeah, round two. Volkanovski undeterred. Now, that was one thing that ended round one. He had that cheeky little gremlin grin on his face when Makhachev had his back. That's another theme we'll return to later on in the fight. Loved it, by the way. Absolutely loved it. There was one other thing from that first round that caught me up. Did you hear what the crowd were chanting?
Islam is a wanker, right? Am I wrong?
Joe, I'm sorry, it got me. That
it was funny.
I thought that was hilarious. Anyway, as you said,
could be ripped out of context, that one, couldn't it? But
certainly could. I think it's distasteful in certain circles for sure. We probably shouldn't dwell on it because we do want to be released to the masses.
Yes, let's move on. Round two.
Volk straight away gets on the front foot. And he's pushing Makhachev. Let's be honest. To me, he was leading the dance there in that second round. I'm glancing over to my notes now. Of course, then it was Makhachev landing that one left hook again towards the middle of the round, which wobbled Volk.
Yeah.
Commentary team made big play of that. What did you think?
I think it's interesting in that the guys that have rocked Volkanovski before this were Max Holloway in the second fight in their trilogy and Chad Mendes. Holloway obviously gets that credit because of his striking credentials and how he game planned for that second fight and how impressive that was. And Mendes obviously gets that because of his just raw athletic power that he has. Whereas Makhachev, as was stated before, if this fight's on the feet, Makhachev's losing. And then when Makhachev does that, it's kind of this, well, maybe not. Maybe if this stays on the feet, it's not as clear-cut as Volkanovski wins. But anyway, he rocked Volkanovski. But then I had it as like Volkanovski sort of embraced this challenge of like, I've got to win the round back from him, and proceeded to just like output Makhachev. I mean, the output was very low for this fight. Let's also put that out there. This is Volkanovski's like lowest output in quite a while. But that second round, he really just tried to kick it up a notch. It's his highest output other than the fifth was the second round.
Well, part of that was, as you say, reasserting himself into the round after being wobbled. Got straight back on the front foot. Makhachev had a few moments where he was stalking Volk a little bit, but sure enough, Volkanovski, yeah, he returned to trend, ended the round with Makhachev pressed up against the cage, kind of working a bit of a tie clinch, but really I had Volk getting more shots off and in the dominant position.
Yeah, rode the round out, basically.
I gave the round to Volkanovski.
Yeah, for sure. It guaranteed the round for him as well. Third round, I thought was really interesting because this was when Volkanovski actually started to implement more the game plan we talked about pre-fight, which is when, is he going to start digging to the body? When is he going to start doing that? And in the first round or two, he threw a couple body jabs from quite far out, more just sort of like testing, just to let Makhachev know I can get there. But the second round is when he really dug to the body there.
Well, let's just highlight the key weapon for Volkanovski in the early going, and it was that kind of blitz, switching stances, left hook, right straight, in the pocket as he comes in towards Makhachev. Makhachev was doing a good job countering that with that left hook, stepping off the line, creating that space, and as we saw, that hurt Volk. But as you say, we got to see a bit more body work from Volkanovski coming into the third.
Winning the clinch exchange as well with those shots. Makhachev, though, he was landing some really nice kicks, I thought. Some really nice kicks in that round.
The teep up the middle.
Yeah.
To the body.
Yeah, very impressive. So, round 3 for Volkanovski for you.
Yeah, I had Volk on both first and second viewing.
Okay, so currently we both have it 2-1 Volk going into the fourth. Fourth round, Makhachev here, oh my word, finally got the timing on Volkanovski, takes him down, beautiful takedown, controls the back, not a lot of output, and then I'm thinking, has Volkanovski nicked this round with the rabbit punches? For me, absolutely not. I just think that control period gave it to Makhachev for me. Tom, please tell me you have not given it to Volkanovski based off of those punches.
I think it's worth a discussion. Let's put it that way, Joe. So, do you have the stats in front of you? How much control time was it for Makhachev? How long did he have that back for?
He had, in round 4, 3 minutes 25.
Yeah, pretty substantial.
And of
pretty substantial.
Significant strikes, Makhachev landed 4 to Volkanovski's 6. Total strikes, though, was Makhachev 19, Volkanovski 49. It's not significant work. I'm sorry. Like, I can't. It doesn't override the control and the takedown for me.
No. First time I watched it, I had to give it to Makhachev. Of course, we were talking about it. Volkanovski was amazing, let me just say, in that position. Just a angry little man, Joe.
Yeah.
Terrifying.
Oh, dogged. That was the thing about this fight for Volk, was that, like, he is so dogged, like, as a competitor. Like, he just refuses to wilt. He refuses to give in to people.
I mean, Joe, that was his reputation before the fight. I don't even have the vocabulary to describe the animal that I saw in this fight.
Yeah, absolutely.
Like, I'm tearing up. For me, it was an absolute amazing human feat of, like, willpower, endurance, discipline, will to win.
I've also got to shout him out for this as well. This is a little bit of a Volkanovski love-in for obvious reasons, but we will be praising Makhachev in a moment. But at the round 4, going into round 5, in the corner, I was actually really blown away by Volkanovski and his conversation with his coaches. That he was really aware of what they were saying and was responding and conversing with them. Like, Eugene Behrman gave him an instruction, and Volkanovski wasn't sure what he meant. He said, like, wait, hold on, do you want me to do that off the 2? Saying off the 1-2 combo, off the straight. And he's just like, yeah. He's just like, okay, I've got it clear in my mind. I've got a clear game plan. And I really was kind of super impressed by that. I mean, maybe I'm being blown away by something that's quite simple, but, like, how many times, and we've seen it on this card as well, guys that are just dying in between rounds that can barely listen to anything. And, like, Volkanovski having
shout out Jimmy Crute, Alonso Medical. My God.
By God, indeed.
Very different type of fight. No, I think you're right to praise Volkanovski for that. He was so alert, Joe, and, no spoilers. End of the 5th round, Volkanovski barely looked like he'd been in a fight. He wasn't even, his chest was barely moving. I bet his pulse hadn't gone above about 30. I mean, it was outrageous, terrifying.
Yeah, really. Well, he dropped Makhachev.
We moved into the 5th now.
We moved into the 5th.
So, I had to give Makhachev those rounds. That 4th round.
Yeah.
No comment on the 5th. I had to give Makhachev that 4th round. But I do think there's a conversation there. Volkanovski got more damage off in the round.
It's not damage. That's not damage.
I'm going to ask Volkanovski to go around to your house and rabbit punch you in the head 49 times. And I want you to come on for the listeners.
I'll tell you what.
We'll put a screenshot of your face.
Hold on. In that position where I'm on his back, controlling him from the back, and he's going like that from over the top, I could do that. I could eat that for lunch. In that position,
Joe, let me tell you right now, I'm calling the coroner. and I'm getting the service ready. R.I.P. Joe.
No,
because Volkanovski would explode out and ruin you.
Yeah, but hold on. We're talking about... Yeah, but he didn't explode out. Makhachev still controlled him. He still had the dominant position. I'm sorry, man. Like, if Tyler Santos didn't win that round against Shevchenko doing the same thing, then Volkanovski doesn't win this round doing less of that against Makhachev, who is in a more dominant position.
Agreed. Okay. Makhachev won the round. But... what positions are considered dominant enough that you can just lay control without any damage? Is it just when you take the back?
On the back is
a half guard. You're getting like elbowed and punched from the bottom. You're not getting anything.
We'll talk about Yair Rodriguez.
That's what I'm saying.
But he didn't do that though. All we can talk about is what we have, which is Makhachev controlled the back. Significant strikes between the two was pretty minimal.
He didn't even threaten a sub, Joe.
Yeah, but how much of that is Volk's defense? But then also we don't score defense.
Volk was too busy punching him in the face.
No.
Pulling places.
No. You can't give a guy a round for that from that position.
I'm not giving him the round. Makhachev won the round. We move into the 5th.
Yeah. Makhachev goes for the takedown again that he landed in the 4th, but instead he is met by a massive shot from Volkanovski. It was a big right hand that I got it. Is it a right hand that he rocked him with just off the temple? And then crowd exploded. Volkanovski gets on top. Makhachev rode out the rest of the fighting guard as Volkanovski then did his classic thing of, I'm in his guard, I'm going to plant my feet, I'm going to get over him and unload the ground and pound on him. He was doing ground and pound to a Dagestani champion.
Joe, he wasn't just doing ground and pound. He was postured up. Wailing down on him. Some great screenshots of Makhachev looking off into the distance.
Yeah, like,
gasping, bloody.
Get me out of here.
Well, get me out of here. Who is this little terror? You know? Truly ferocious stuff from Volkanovski. And if we had a couple more rounds, I think we know how this is ending.
Yeah.
Volkanovski just wins all the plaudits. You give him that 5th round.
It's weird, isn't it, that, a lot of people think Volkanovski won the fight. I don't think it's a robbery for Makhachev to win this. I think rounds 2 and 3 are close enough where I can see arguments either way. But could you now say that Makhachev is pound for pound the best fighter in the world? After this fight?
This is where I have to come in and say how I changed my scoring on the second viewing.
Really?
Yes. Second viewing, I scored it 48-47, Alexander Volkanovski.
Yeah, rounds 2, 3, and 5 for Volk.
Yeah.
Right. So are we saying then that basically rounds 1, 4, and 5 are not contentious in the slightest? It's rounds 2 and 3 are basically the swing rounds?
Yeah, I think that's fair to say.
Okay, fair enough. Let's talk about this then, which is, this is the first time we've seen a Dagestani fighter in that Khabib style damaged like this, beaten up like this, potentially lost a fight like this. And we've seen how to beat these guys is you just have to be the best fighter in the world. You have to be... Alexander Volkanovski lost this fight, and I think most people came away with thinking that he's the best fighter in the world.
I mean, there are things that Volkanovski could fix going into the next matchup, which let me just say I want to see it. The
rematch.
They've both called for it, Joe. I'm sorry, Yair. Yair who?
Yeah.
I mean, Joe, that was so good. That was so good. I'm saying it now. Annual event, Perth, Makhachev, Volkanovski. Let's make it a thing.
Well,
Because it was just so good. My God.
Can we talk about some of the... hold on. You're saying fight of the year contender, basically, straight away?
You have to consider the context of the fight as well.
Yeah, the context and drama for sure. To me, it's a very good fight, close to great. I think the drama of it elevates it.
Oh,
but like, you know, I when people are like, this is one of the all-time greatest fights, I think people should calm down on that a little bit. It was this expectation, and me and you expected Makhachev to sub Volkanovski in this fight. We weren't expecting this from Volk. But it was incredible. Like, again, I think the atmosphere adds to it. And if we're talking about what their next matchups are, let's just look at the divisions themselves. Apart from the fact that Yair Rodriguez is now an interim champion, and, you know, the fact that Beneil Dariush has been matched up with Oliveira, there's no real clear contenders for either of these guys, is there?
I'm sorry, like I'm a human just like everyone else. My attention is on this fight. Now Yair, he made the best case he could. We're going to talk about that imminently. But the headline was stolen out from under him by Volkanovski's performance here. I don't know if you've seen what they both said post-fight yet, Joe, but Volkanovski was informed during the interview that Makhachev had said he'd be interested in a rematch, and Volk was like, "Yep, let's get it done, instant rematch." And they ask him about Yair, and he's like, "Oh no."
Oh really?
Yeah.
Do you think he's like, I don't want to cut down to 145 again? Do you think he's felt the pleasure of 155?
Joe, it feels terrible to say this because I'm about to give myself and also Yair huge credit for what goes on in that co-main and my prediction for it. But Volkanovski absolutely destroys Yair Rodriguez.
Yeah. Hold on. You are a man that thought Parker Porter was going to win an MMA fight. So again, I'm not going to give you too much credit for picking
Joe,
Yair Rodriguez.
Let's talk about the co-main.
No. Hold on. I want to keep talking about this main event just for another second or so. Do you come away with this, again, talking about Volkanovski's standing in this, is that he not only is the best featherweight in the world, but he's the second best lightweight in the world now?
I want to see more of Volkanovski at lightweight. He wants to fight there. If he has to...
Also, sorry, go on, you continue.
Well, I mean, if he has to go and fight Oliveira... I mean, let's not talk about the glitzy names, Gaethje or Poirier.
Chandler.
Come on, Joe.
Yeah.
Do me a favour.
Let's also bring this up. Let's say they don't make the rematch straight away. And...
No rush.
Well, Volkanovski wants to fight 4 times this year, so I don't know how he's planning on doing this. He's got to be fighting in, I guess, May or June, then September and then December, something crazy. That's a crazy output if he's going to get that done. Watching this fight, do you think Beneil Dariush watched this fight and thought he can beat Makhachev?
Yes, I do. Give me it now.
Cancel the Oliveira fight. Just make Makhachev versus Dariush.
I mean, surely Beneil is undeniable after a win over Oliveira.
He's undeniable now, in my opinion. I think he's undeniable. Yeah. I think there's too much wasting time with guys like Dariush, and actually wasting time with guys like Makhachev. Makhachev, when he became champion, or just before he beat Oliveira, he says he doesn't want to do the Usman thing of just having a load of rematches. And it's just like, he's had his first title defense, it's just like, okay, you're going to have a rematch of that straight away. I actually don't think there's a rush with going to the rematch. I think you separate them, and then maybe bring them back together later in the year. December, something like that.
It was one of those fights where these men are now bonded.
It's different,
Their
isn't it?
path, it's just different.
It's just different. Beforehand, there wasn't that. It was this curio. But now it's like it's kind of forged in iron that these two are kind of like the perfect matchup for each other.
I mean, Dominic Cruz was saying it in the 4th round without knowing any outcome that this is going to happen again.
Yeah,
I really truly believe it has to. but perhaps some roadblocks can come up down the way. Let's talk
about a fight that doesn't need to happen again. Yair Rodriguez defeats Josh Emmett for the interim featherweight title. I mean, let me tell you, 100 miles an hour. Like, I loved this fight. Like, it was absolutely brilliant. But Yair, my God, he leveled up massively. So I felt like in this fight, like this was. I think there's something about Yair Rodriguez now that's different to the guy that fought Frankie Edgar, and I think we should no longer credit that fight with really meaning too much. Like, I think Rodriguez is almost he's a bit of a soul snatcher now, isn't he? Like, you think about like Zombie, you know, after he fought Rodriguez. You think about Max after he fought Rodriguez. You know, maybe Ortega will be all right, but we'll have to wait and see because that was
not if he has to fight Yair again.
No, and I don't know what Emmett is going to be like after this because, my God, Rodriguez. This is the stat that really stood out to me. By the way, Rodriguez winning by triangle choke, which I don't think anyone would have predicted going into this. Yair Rodriguez, he normally lands to the body around about 15 to 19%. This fight, he landed at 29%, nearly 30% to the body he was throwing at. It was absolutely barbaric, the work he was doing to the body. Some of the combinations he was throwing, that question mark kick with the right hand right behind it. Oh my word. Rodriguez, it was quite something. And Emmett just could not get anything going until the end of that first round where he drops Rodriguez. Because Rodriguez, he just fights the fight he wants to fight. Emmett drops him, gets him on the ground, a bit of ground and pound. Did you score the first round for Rodriguez or for Emmett?
For Rodriguez.
Yeah, I scored it for Rodriguez. I saw people scoring it for Emmett, and I'm just like, all right, I get it off the knockdown, but like, there's not enough there. Oh my God, the kicks, man, the kicks of Rodriguez and the tempo he fights at. Him versus Volkanovski. I'm sorry, I just really want to see it now. I really, really want to see it, and I think if Volkanovski goes up to fight at lightweight again against Makhachev, are we just going to say, yeah, Rodriguez is the featherweight champion? Like, we can't do that.
I mean, are you talking about a world in which Volkanovski doesn't return to featherweight now?
Yeah.
I think that would be a big shame.
Yeah, I agree.
I think that would be a big shame. He's got a legacy there. He's on the cusp of GOAT. And he should just close the book on that before he moves up to lightweight. Obviously, if he takes apart Yair Rodriguez and Arnold Allen, there's nothing.
Hold on. And Ilia Topuria?
Nah.
Hold on. If Volkanovski beats Yair Rodriguez in May, Arnold Allen in September, and then Ilia Topuria in December, like if he's going to do the 4 fights in a year, and I'm guessing it would have to be around about that time frame. By the way, Yair's saying, let's do the fight in September in Mexico. Yeah, mate. Yeah, good luck with that. Yeah, you're not calling the shots here. Okay, the champ fights when he's going to fight. You know, those two fight in May, June. That lines up perfectly for, you know, Arnold Allen, potentially, if he beats Max Holloway. I think if he has that sort of campaign, I would just say he's the best featherweight to ever do it.
No question. No question. You're talking about absolutely dismantling the next 3 competitors, clear out the whole division, close the book on Max Holloway.
That book is long closed. Yeah.
That's what I'm saying. But Holloway was that man. He was that man.
He was getting there.
That's over.
That's the thing, like with Adesanya, isn't it? Where it's just like, if he can't beat Pereira, if he can't go in there and get that back, sorry, man, but you're never getting close to that Anderson Silva sort of standing, are you? My God. Anyway, Josh Emmett, fair play, mate. You're 38 years old now. Gave it one last push and respect for you to get into this level again, but that's
aged him a year after that beatdown. That's
he's 38 in 3 weeks.
Yeah,
he's 38 in 3 weeks.
I mean,
okay.
Joe, I haven't commented much on the fight because I called it. You don't want to credit
no, you said Yair by knockout, did you not? Did you say Yair by knockout?
I mean, he could win any way he wanted. He was absolutely putting the work on Josh Emmett. It started with...
Wait, hold on. You do realise I won? Right, I'm still the champ, right? Yeah. I'm still the predictions champ. Thank you.
We'll get to Parker Porter versus...
we'll get to a few things. Anyway, also, this is the other thing I really want to credit Yair with. In guard, Oh my God, that is Michael Bisping level output in guard. Like,
I was thinking Tony Ferguson with the elbows
yes,
off the back. Come on.
stretching all the way back.
Yeah, exactly. Really creating those angles.
But like, do you know how horrible that must be? Where it's just like, I need to get to him, but like, I know that's coming. Like, I'm looking at it, I can see the missile coming, and it's going to bust me up. Like, but you can't get out of the way. That was tremendous, those elbows. Yair, mate, I think you've leveled up massively. I'm not going to make a prediction just yet, but I think Volk whoops you. Just saying that right now. But the fight itself, woo, that could be some fireworks. That could be some massive, massive fireworks.
Joe, I'm glad you come around to my worldview. Yair deserved the respect. This was his breakout performance. This is what was called for.
This is the breakout
on
performance.
The pod.
He still didn't deserve to be in there for the interim title. Like, I think that's fair to say as well. He's just got a weird career.
He's a cut above your man, Josh Emmett.
Yeah, absolutely.
Different leagues. We saw that. Emmett had nothing for him, Joe. I say no more.
Yeah, absolutely. Right, let's talk about, my God, Jack Della Maddalena defeats Randy Brown by first round submission, rear naked choke. Randy Brown started this fight off picking Della Maddalena out from range, picking away at him, and then Della Maddalena's like, right, I think I've figured you out, mate. Harangues him back to the cage, a nice sort of knee feint, 1-2 that Della Maddalena wasn't really that fussed about landing, to get Brown up against the cage, to give him an exit out to his left, that then brought him onto a big right hand, dropped him, landed face first, Johnny Walker physics of like knockdown, hammer fists, and then jumped on the back for the sub. Excellent performance from Della Maddalena. His fourth first round finish in the UFC in just under a year. My man is a problem. Choo. I mean, we've been on the train for a while. Since that, what was it, the Amir fight. We've been on this train for a while. Man, Della Maddalena versus Vicente Luque.
Sounds amazing. Definitely
give him
get
a
him
rank
in
guy.
those. Yeah, give him a rank guy. Oh, and get him in the rankings first. I mean, Randy Brown's as good as in them, just outside the top 15 anyway. I think Maddalena's done enough to get a number next to his name. Joe, just a elite performance, above and beyond what I was expecting, and I predicted a finish in this fight.
No, you didn't. You predicted a decision.
Yeah, sorry.
You predicted a decision and regretted it. Thank you.
I regretted it immediately, dismissed it from history, wiped it from my brain, but here you are to remind me.
Yep.
Yeah, I mean, I certainly didn't expect a first round stoppage, but like you say, he just walked Randy onto that right hand. That was all she wrote.
He didn't really have to do much. He didn't throw much before that. Really.
Walk in the park, Joe.
Didn't need to.
18 total strikes. Only 14 of them significant. One knockdown, bit of ground and pound, choke you to sleep. Amazing.
Della Maddalena is 14-2 now. That's his record. And his two losses were his first two fights. 14 wins in a row. Very, very impressive. Let's talk about Justin Tafa knocked out Parker Porter with a counter. Hold on.
Yeah, sorry, Joe. Just to follow up. I mean, you do think Luque is the fight to make?
Yeah.
Before?
Or Magny.
So we're not going to test the wrestling yet. We're going to have a striking
matchup.
Why
Why would we do that? Why would we do that?
Sounds like you've got some unanswered questions in that department.
I just don't think there's a rush, is there? I mean, what about this? He fights Magny and then he fights the winner of the Leech versus Chiesa.
So he'll have to fight Chiesa, is what you're saying?
Oh, don't do the Leech dirty like that. My God. Chiesa, man. Like, I don't know. I think he's hit the skids a little bit, to be honest. I've just not been that impressed.
No.
No.
All right. So we'll ask those questions of the wrestling a bit later on. We'll enjoy 2023. 2024, you're getting tested.
Yeah, you're facing like a Gilbert Burns by the end of this year into early next year. That sort of thing.
Oof.
Right. Justin Tafa knocks out Parker Porter 1 minute 5 seconds into round one. Thank you, lads, for getting that wrapped up nice and early for me. And thank you, Justin Tafa, for the 2 points. Tom, for some reason, picked Parker Porter. I mean, Jesus, Tom, what is wrong with you? What is wrong with you? By the way, we didn't talk about this in relation to the main event. Did you see the thing of Dan Hooker maybe accusing Makhachev of using an IV to rehydrate?
Is that all the commentary the listeners are getting on Parker Porter, Justin Tafa?
Well, no, what I'm thinking
is this their breakdown?
Did Makhachev share the same IV Parker Porter used, filled with all that bacon grease that he's rehydrated with? Because, my God, Porter he's just dreadful. Big looping shot and just like... He was dreadful. I'm sorry. He was dreadful. It was dreadful. Like, you're getting finished by Justin Tafa. I mean, you can hit hard and all, but my God, like, basically, he threw this big looping right hand where it's just like, here's the whole side of my face. Knock me out, please.
Well, to quote a great man, Joe, if you reach, I have to teach. And that's what happened. Justin Tafa, 2023. I mean, it was, it was an education. Let's just say that. Perhaps not for Parker Porter, but for the aspiring practitioners out there. Got to tighten up that game a little bit. Can't be throwing those super big looping shots and leave your chin exposed like that. Just little bop, left hand from Tafa, and here we are. What can I say? You called it, Joe. Congratulations on that. And
thank you.
Justin Tafa, how high can he go?
Hopefully not much higher, because I don't really want to see him. Well, who are we going to give him? Romanov? Should we give him Romanov just for a laugh?
I mean, you did say that he was one of your least favourite fighters. Has he reclaimed, is he in the good books now?
No. He's
certified
right.
hater. Joe
No, I'm not a hater. I'm just like, I don't know. I just feel like when I see some of these heavyweights now, and I'm talking about like Romanov, Pavlovich, Spivak, Aspinall, Garn, Blades. I'm kind of over these big wobbly dudes just throwing big shots. Like, I want to see a bit of skill in there. If you can do 4 things at heavyweight, I'm blown away.
What do you want from Justin Tafa? First round stoppage, looked good doing it. Nice little line after the fight, in front of his home crowd.
Yeah, whatever. All right, let's move on to the opener of the main card. Jimmy Crute and Alonzo Menafield ends in a draw simply because Menafield grabbed the fence and got a point deducted. Otherwise, he would have won that fight. I mean, yeah, it was bad fight. What do you think?
See, that was the take shared by my partner here, Joe, but I think that's a little unfair. I mean, the guys, they both gave it all. It was a very, very hectic first round. They are light heavyweights. Both of them were clearly spent. And, it devolved into some heavyweight tier slop after that. But I thought they both pushed it to the limit. It was a real battle of wills. Both of them were clearly spent, Joe. It was a fun.
You know what? I'm being harsh. I did enjoy it. I did enjoy it. There was some bits where I was just like, I'm surprised Jimmy Crute took some of those shots. To be honest, like, that was madness. I think this also does now confirm to us that Jimmy Crute is he's of a level. Let's just put it that way. I think there's clear limitations, and I think the chin is the thing that will stop him from getting that
I just
far.
think he was really frustrating. I just can't imagine he went along with the game plan. I think he is better than Alonzo Menafield, but just walked himself into a bad place again and again and again.
And Menafield as well.
Why is he brawling with Menafield?
Yeah,
why?
Exactly. Yeah,
Don't do that.
And also, Menafield had so many chances as well where he could have like disengaged and finished the fight, and it's just like. It was reckless. Both of them reckless at points where they could have won it. Like, it's just not a very good fight. Not a very good performance, I thought, from Crute. As entertaining as it was, it's just not something that I would uphold as like, these two guys are at the top of their divisions, or these two guys are like hot contenders, or these two guys have got more to grow into. I think this is like their limit, and I'm happy to know what their limit is. Do you know what I mean? Like, I can now talk about Jimmy Crute and go like, he went to a draw with Alonzo Menafield. He lost the first 2 rounds to Alonzo Menafield.
No, he lost all 3 rounds, but they docked a point. And he did lose that 3rd round. Sorry, you are right.
Yeah,
Menafield, that is. So
yeah,
so it was a fair draw. I mean, it could have also been stopped in favour of Menafield. I thought there was a moment there where he was getting off enough. It was just like seconds away.
Yeah. Absolutely. Right.
I mean. Yeah, Joe. Okay, we have seen Crute's ceiling. Very frustrating, as I say, if you are cornering him. I still feel like there's a bit of nastiness in you today, though, Joe. I mean, it can't always be young contenders, the hot revolutionary fighters surging, coming up. We do need these guys filling out the divisions. It is light heavyweight. These guys are in the kind of 10 to 20 zone. They're not
closer to 20. Yeah. Like, look, I mean, that's fine. It's just that, like, when... I don't know, man. I just don't want to have to, like...
All right, let me wrap this up for you. It should have been on the prelims.
Yes, it should have
been. And then you wouldn't be so offended by it.
Get those flyweights on here. My God, I love that prelim fight of that flyweight. What's his name? Clayton Rodriguez, Shannon Ross. Woo! There was a lot of spinning stuff in that. That was dope.
Is that your fight to pick out from the prelims?
That's my performance to pick out of the prelims. Hold on, we'll just go over these results very quickly. So before, basically, I've retained the predictions belt because I'm the champ. Thank you, Justin Tafa, for that knockout win.
Doctor point for nastiness, though, Joe.
Why? Because I'm a bit grisly. Because, like, I don't know, man. I don't really want to talk about Jimmy Crute and Alonzo Menafield that much. Like, I want to talk about Jack Della Maddalena more, and I actually want to talk about the main event more. Like, I feel like I want to talk about this main event next week. Like, you know, I don't want to talk about Erin Blanchfield versus Jessica Andrade. As good as that fight as I think it will be for women's flyweight, I think I still will be talking about Makhachev versus Volk. Anyway, let's talk about the prelims. I want to highlight Clayton Rodriguez. Bat out of hell, my God. This guy was throwing everything and got Shannon Ross out there with some body shots. Nice bit of ground and pound at the end. And... really impressed by his performance. Was there anyone else on the prelims that stood out to you? Yeah,
a couple of guys I'd like to highlight. Clayton Rodriguez, that was a great performance. It seemed like there was a limit to me on Shannon Ross. You know, let's bit of a reality check because it wasn't quite there. The fighters for me, well, we did talk briefly about Blake Bilder.
Weird fight.
I'm saying now, Joe. I'm not really feeling it.
No, same. This fight was almost in like slow motion.
Yeah, I mean a whole lot of dancing around from Bilder, but not much actual engagement. Yes, he had nice lateral movement, but actually Shane Young was getting plenty off. It was a close fight. Who I was impressed with, Jack Jenkins. He was the featured on the early prelim. Looked good, Joe. Yeah,
very good. Very impressed by Jack Jenkins. Dominant performance over
nice
Don
diversity on strikes, heavy kicks. One to watch. And then I loved myself a bit of Jamie Malarkey, actually.
Yes, mate. Yes, very good performance.
Putting the reins on the young Francisco Prado, showing him that perhaps lightweight isn't the division for him.
I mean, he almost nicked it at the end, that Kimura for Prado, but Malarkey showed the wherewithal to get out of there. Also,
he's entering grizzled vet status at like 29 or whatever Jamie Malarkey is.
That's a tough
28, Joe.
Oh my God. Prado did impress me though that at the end where he actually seemed to have figured Malarkey out a little bit, which was because Prado kept like hand fighting a bit, or his hands weren't that close, and then towards the end his hands were like very close to his head, and he was waiting for Malarkey through, and he threw these like really tight hooks in close to rock Malarkey just a little bit, just land some nice shots on him. So Prado, nice adjustment at the end, but overall Malarkey just sort of pieced him up at range. I agree though, Prado, I think 145 is probably more your division than 155. It'll only get worse from here. Also, I want to shout out the Joshua Kulibau Melsik Baghdasaryan fight. I thought Baghdasaryan was doing all right up until he wasn't. Knockdown rear naked choke from Kulibau. A bit of afters. Lovely stuff. And Modestas Bukauskas gets a solid decision win over Tyson Pedro. Nice to see Bukauskas back in the UFC. And hopefully he can get his rematch and revenge on Khalil Roundtree. Tom, that was UFC 284. The prelims were so-so, but that main card, you know what? It delivered. It delivered. Every single fight had some element of entertainment, some element of action, and then a tremendous title fight at the top between Makhachev and Volkanovski.
Yeah, let's just return to that just for a moment. I know you got some news for us, Joe, but you were saying that perhaps it wasn't as good a fight as most people seem to feel like it was. It was really made the occasion by the crowd, by what was at stake, by such a likeable, as we can now clearly say, charismatic underdog in Volkanovski. For me, though, I disagree with you because it's one of those fights. I mean, Anik said it at the time. It's kind of like you remember where you were. It was such a grand occasion. I'm still buzzing from it, and I can go and watch that a third time, and I'm going to enjoy it just the same.
Fair enough. I'll give it some time. I'll give it some time. I don't know. At least for me, the fights where like I'm really sort of like blown away by them. I think they're one of the best fights ever. It just didn't reach that level. I'm talking, from last year, Glover versus Prohajka, Sarukian versus Gamrot. You know what I mean? Like that sort of like complete carnage. Oliveira Gaethje from last year as well. Just in terms of like, oh my god, sort of carnage. But again, it's a bit more technical, this fight. Because it had to be. Volkanovski had to be that. He had to have that game plan. Well, but there's so much more to dig into in future episodes.
He thought he had to have that game plan. Let's just be clear. I think Volkanovski comes out and he just lights a fire under Makhachev's ass for 25 minutes. I think Volkanovski will look back at that. He'll look at the way that he exited Makhachev's clinch in the fourth. He's a little bit overconfident and ended up getting his back taken. And I think he'll look at the early round. He'll look at the first round and he'll think, I'll get that one next time. I'll go after him, much more volume. And expect Makhachev to wilt further as the fight goes on. I think Volkanovski will feel like he left the money on the table. But
maybe. I also do think, I don't know, man. I just had this vibe off of this as well that Makhachev had a really rough cut. Like there was something bad with his. He did reference that as well.
That. Yeah, he did. One final note. Just to round out the positioning of the judges. Derek clearly 49-46. You did say that you could score 4 rounds potentially to Makhachev.
At a squint. I've probably, if memory serves, probably round 3 out of 2 and 3. I think 2 lent more to Volkanovski, and 3. Again, I gave round 3 to Volkanovski, but if I was to give one of those 2 to Makhachev, it probably would have been 3. What did he give to Makhachev?
Derek clearly scored the first 4 rounds for Makhachev.
Right.
And just gave Volkanovski the 5th.
Interesting.
Yeah, whereas David Leatherby and Ben Cartledge, they were unified in giving Makhachev the first 2.
Mm-hmm.
Now, I'll say that I gave Makhachev the second round first time round and Volkanovski the second round the second watch through. And then, Volkanovski taking the 3rd, Makhachev winning the 4th. And the 5th, of course, going to Volkanovski. If you go out to the wider media, there were 2 out of some 20 or so who gave it 49-46 Makhachev. The rest of them being 48-47 Makhachev, barring your man from Sherdog, The Sports Daily, Severe MMA, MMA Mania, CBS Sports, and The Score. They all gave it 48-47 Volkanovski. The most common submitted scorecard from the fans, this is on MMAdecisions.com, they picked Volkanovski to win 48-47 40% of the time. That's from 3,000 fan scorecards.
So then what's the makeup of the Makhachev cards on that?
Yeah, so you've got 37%. Remember, it was 40.4% that went Volkanovski. 37% they went Makhachev by 48-47. 11% there had 49-46 for Makhachev. And then you have got
outliers and freaks.
2.9% outliers and freaks, and they picked Volkanovski by 49-46.
Which is ludicrous, yeah. Right. Tremendous. Let's talk about the news. There's one bit of news I really want to talk about from this card, which is Jens Pulver goes into the Hall of Fame. Really nice moment where he found out live, watching it on his stream as he commentates on these cards, that he was going into the Hall of Fame. Teared up. Your man was very much taken aback and surprised. Pulver, I mean, let's say it, as old school as it gets, Tom. My God, this is, a pioneer in a way. One of the first names of that era, post 2000, and a bit of a pioneer for the smaller weight classes, and
Well, he won the inaugural lightweight championship. Crazy to think that there were people out there saying that lightweight can't be a division. Crazy.
Well, the
2001, UFC. Joe, February, different time.
Yeah.
I mean, he's entered the Pioneers wing. I don't think there's anywhere else you're going to put him. Fought the likes of Dwayne Ludwig, BJ Penn.
Kayuno,
yeah. And then later on, BJ Penn again, Joe Lozone, Uriah Faber again. I mean, he's been in there with some of the bigger names in the sport. And yeah, nice that he was recognised in that way. It was a beautiful moment.
Yeah, it really, really was. He fought Dean Thomas as well, my God. Dean Thomas, Takanori Gomi. Oh, my word. Cub Swanson, Leonard Garcia. My God, he fought like all of like those like big pioneering names of that era. No, for the smaller weight classes, like, man. But yeah, it was a nice moment. Also, it's just like a name that just I don't think gets that much recognition from that time, because it's like BJ Penn was obviously the most dominant name of that era in those weight classes, and it's nice for Jens to get that sort of moment. It does make me think, though, calling it a Hall of Fame it's a bit of a stretch now, isn't it? Do you know what I mean? Hall of Very Good, maybe. Not a Hall of Fame. But the sport's so young that maybe it doesn't really justify a Hall of Fame just yet. Come on.
Yeah, I know where you're coming from, Joe. I don't know. It's nice to honour these guys. It's nice that they feel part of the wider family still. I hope it's not too political in who gets to be in there and who doesn't. We know that it is.
It is.
I mean, what are you going to do with Pulver? He was a pioneer.
Yeah,
he was a pioneer.
Enough. He definitely was. And we thank him for that. Let's look ahead to this Saturday. Funnily enough, me and Tom do not want to do a full preview of the Jessica Andrade Erin Blanchfield card, so we're just going to give you the good bits now. Andrade steps in on short notice, steps in for Tyler Santos to face Blanchfield. I would just essentially say this is a number one contenders fight to face Shevchenko. Shevchenko's facing Alexa Grasso in the co-main of the Jones-Cyril Gane card. Simply put, Tom, who are you having?
Well, it's certainly a good fight, and credit to Andrade for stepping in, because Blanchfield's looked damn good.
Yeah.
Damn good. That being said, though, her wins are over Molly McCann, JJ Aldrich, Miranda Maverick. Slightly different tier to Andrade, so this is the big test for her. By far the biggest win of her career. I'm leaning towards Andrade. She's looked very good of late.
I'm leaning Andrade as well. I think just that experience level, and also just the finishing ability she has. Strong hands she has. If Blanchfield can get her down and wrestle her, then maybe she could sort of get through it. But again, like, Andrade is just so strong. She's so strong that, like, I don't know. I just struggle to see how Blanchfield can keep her down for a long time. But we'll have to wait and see. Blanchfield's only younger. She's 23 years old. Like, there's no rush to, like, get her up there just yet. But a great test. If she can beat Andrade, definite number one contender. And listeners, luckily for you, because this card is so poor, you will be getting a Sunday post from me breaking down this card Sunday evening. That will be when I am back, at least, to talk about this. Tom, is there anything else you want to talk about on this week's episode of Hold On, I'm Talking Brother?
As you said, Joe, I mean, we can look ahead further to this card. There are a few other names we could pick out, but really the thing that's dominating my mind is that we are now in the age of Alexander Volkanovski.
Yeah.
And it is a great place to be.
Yeah. It is, isn't it? It's weird now that, like, I know the sun just shines differently now, doesn't it? It's just, things are just different. And now we, because the whole, like, pound for pound thing, it's like a bit of a weird cred to have anyway. I think a lot of people don't really understand it. And I don't know, like, it was just this weird moment of, like, even though he lost, I don't think anyone thinks any less of him. I mean, it's a bit of a shame that people don't think more of Makhachev for actually beating him. Because he does have the win over him now. Like, that is a major achievement. I just think that Volkanovski is probably still the best all-round fighter in the world right now. Is there anyone else that's close?
So, sorry, this wasn't enough for Volkanovski to move ahead of Makhachev because he was stepping up the weight class on a pound-for-pound basis. You're arguing Volkanovski's still the man to beat.
No, I mean, you'd have to give it to Makhachev, but for me personally, I would still have Volk number one. Like, I know what this is. It's like when I scored it for Volk. When I scored the win for Volk, I'm like, I think Volk's won this, but I know he hasn't. You know what I mean? Like, I know that they're going to give those rounds to Makhachev.
Joe, there was one thing that coloured this for me, and that's that I had seen an image of Makhachev with a belt around his waist going into the fight. Yeah.
Oh, you had it spoiled for you.
Yeah. Well, I didn't know, but that was the image I'd seen. It might have been some build up, so I was kind of being guided in that direction, perhaps, when I was making the scoring after the fight. Yeah, it very much makes sense that image would have been of Makhachev winning this fight. So, yeah, I was coloured a bit by that, and having had a more neutral second look through, I don't know. I think there's a strong case there for Alexander Volkanovski winning the fight, and I can see now that the reception to the fight is very much that, yeah, Volk won. I mean, you look at the striking stats and you look at the damage.
Excellent. Yeah. Right. Listeners, thank you so much for joining us. We will be back next week to preview... What's the card after the Blanchfield-Andrade one? Oh, is it the Krylov versus Span? Oh, my God. Oh, my God. Well, we'll be back for that, I guess. Is there anything on that card?
I'm reaching out. I'm looking for something, Joe, but all I find in my hands is Augusto Sakai versus Dontali Maez.
Hey, your boy Jordan Levitt versus Victor Martinez. Hold on. The return of Tatiana Suarez. That's big. That's big that she's come back. Andre Muniz versus Brendan Allen. Come on.
Yeah, I mean, we'll
get excited.
We'll take what we're given.
All right, we'll be back. I'm sure something mental would have happened in that time that we can chew the fat over. But yeah, Tom, thank you so much for joining me. Listeners, thank you so much for joining us. You can contact us at holdonbrother69@gmail.com. Like, subscribe, spread the word, comment if you wish. And thank you for joining us this week, Tom.
Yeah, if you've made it this far, guys, do us the favour of giving us your scorecard for that main event.
Yes,
Drop it
absolutely.
in the comments. We would love to digest this some more.
Yes, absolutely. This is going to go on for weeks, I think, and the minutiae of that fight will be picked over finally.
Joe,
Tom,
as soon as this pod is over, I'm coming at you with some more on this. We're going after dark because I just think about this all day. But we're in the 1 hour format. Here we go. Goodbye, listeners. Until next time. Thanks for listening.
Yeah, we'll be back next week. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Absolute love affair between the Aussies and their fighters. Enter the undisputed UFC featherweight champion Alexander Volkanovski. Says he wants 4 fights in 2023. First up, he will try to hit that rarefied air as a double champion. And Michael Chael Sonnen said recently, even though Volkanovski hasn't won every minute of every round in his UFC career, if he is dominated tonight in any realm of the game, that'll be the first time we've ever seen him dominated in mixed martial arts.
Volkanovski has no weak areas. Granted, we're going to find out tonight if his wrestling side of things can be exposed. Will Islam be able to submit him? But let's just take a moment and appreciate this man. The pound-for-pound #1 on the planet. Shut out the rival with Max Holloway in absolute style. Some of the most sophisticated movement on the planet. And that is key to him winning this, stepping up to the plate. Listen to this crowd. This is unbelievable. They're all singing away, a standing ovation. Incredible stuff.
Tonight's Bet Point is proudly brought to you by Meds, the official wagering partner of the UFC. Take UFC to the next level.
Wow.
Alexander Volkanovski got to these title shots by outpacing his opponents and outwitting them with his movement.